Sup guys, He King here, bringing you a review on the latest Attack on Titan chapter 90. Oh man, the wait for this chapter was long. I mean, we got last month's chapter very early on the first as well, I believe. And this one again, like usual, it always comes out on the 6th between the 9th or 8th, I think. But yeah, man, the wait this time around was very long, longer than a month than usual. But yeah, this month's chapter, what did I think? Well, first of all, we get a time skip. Not necessarily a time skip, but we do skip a bit ahead in the year that we have, a year since Trust, if you will. And yeah, a lot doesn't necessarily happen, and a lot does. A lot of stuff happens off screen, if you will. But yeah, this month's chapter, what did I think? Well, where do I even begin? First of all, we begin where we ended last chapter, right? And they're still in the conference, and everyone's talking about the stuff that they discovered, and it all comes to an agreement that the Survey Corps and the government and even Queen Historia, they all need to reveal the information they have to the public. As you know, that's the whole point. That's the whole point they did in terms of overthrowing the government and the original king. So they wouldn't have to lie to the citizens anymore, and that they need to bring. They need backup. They need the trust of the citizens, and they agreed to do that. They released information. Obviously, it's a very mixed. The reception is very mixed and divided. A lot of people agree. A lot of people don't know what to think. A lot of people obviously think that there's a lot more going on, and they don't trust the military at this point. So yeah, a lot of mixed receptions because, you know, again, the news to take in that the Titans that have been trying to eat them this whole time have been their countrymen and are humans as well. Like, it's a lot to take in, especially with the fact that they now, now that it's revealed that there are actually humans living outside the walls that are trying to kill them. So it's like, damn, what the hell? It's, like I said, a lot to take in, and you can just imagine the way the populace is at the moment. And you've got Hanji and I think was it Pixis maybe? I'm not too sure. I think Levi, and they're talking with the newspaper guys. So yeah, nice development there. Not much happens. It's just a kind of confirmation just to get the point of view of the citizens from their perspective. We then cut to a later event where all the surviving Survey Corps members are getting medals from the Queen. You know, the ones who had a part to play in the coup d'etat and the stuff that happened in retaking Trust back and defeating the Colossal and Armored Titans. And we get reintroduced to Fork here, by the way, and to Hitch. You know, Hitch comes in, saying that she was part of the coup d'etat in the first place. She's here to get a medal, and she's calling them the heroes of the war, I believe. And yeah, we get a little moment with her along with, what was his name? I don't remember the dude's name, but her friend who got killed. And Sean's pretty much telling her that he died like a hero, and he turns to Fork and tells him to, say it as well. Like, give him a nod, oh yeah, he died like a hero, right? And Fork's like, yeah, he died like a hero, but, in the end, you could see in his eyes that he regretted being there. So yeah, it kind of leaves an impression on Hitch as well. So that kind of upsets her, I imagine. And it pisses off Sean off as to why, why Fork had to say that. And we kind of get this sort of rivalry kind of thing happening here, where Fork pretty much even admits to Sean, Armin, and Eren and Mikasa, who are there, and Sasha, who's fine, and Connie as well, that Erwin should have been the one to live, and the only reason that Armin lived was because of Eren and Mikasa pushing for Levi to save him. So yeah, obviously there's a rift there forming, and I kind of get the vibe that Fork is going to be some sort of obstacle later on down the line in the final arc or not, but like, because he just does come across as a douchebag. He really does, and I get where he's coming from as well. He does, because even he even says that him and the others, they're nothing but meat to be used and thrown away, so to speak. So I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, like, you got Eren and Mikasa trying to defend this, trying to defend the decision to save Armin's life. And yeah, Fork even, I don't know him. Yeah, right, I don't know him. I'm not friends with him. I don't get, what he's good at. But, Erwin should have been the one to live. And even Armin agrees that Erwin should have been the one to survive. But Eren, Eren's having none of that shit. And he pretty much tells Armin that, the reason he rescued him was because they made a promise to see the ocean together one day. And that's pretty much, I guess, the reason for that. I mean, forget about the fact that Armin is a lot more smarter when it comes to certain things, and he can pull certain things off. Because think about it, Erwin had this entire big plan planned out in order to defeat the Beast Titan, and Levi failed. And Armin's plan didn't. Armin's plan succeeded, whereas Aaron's plan failed massively. And that's mostly because he was relying on Levi, but then Armin was relying on Aaron, and Aaron, you know, he did it. He did his part, and Levi didn't. And you can understand from that previous chapter why he didn't bring Aaron back, because it would have been embarrassing. All these people sacrificed themselves, all these people died, Aaron gave his life as well, and in the end it was all for naught. What's the point of bringing this dude back and looking him in the face and telling him I failed, whereas Armin actually succeeded? You have to put these things together, and for this guy to come and say that, oh no, you know, he wasn't worth it, is a slap to the face. In my opinion, no. Rescuing Armin was definitely worth it, and he's definitely going to prove himself. However, there's obviously a rift forming here, so it's going to be interesting to see where the relationship between these characters is going to go. Especially with the fact when Aaron himself has come to the realization that every time he touches Historia, for example, he's getting flashbacks and he's getting some sort of control. He's getting, you know, he's activating the coordinate powers as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And it looks like that Armin is figuring that out, possibly with the other characters as well, because we get this moment where Historia in all her queenie glorious is rewarding them. She's putting the medals down and they're kissing her hand, you know, touching and kissing her, you know, like as you would, like a servant to the queen, as a knight to the queen, if you will. And yeah, he gets a flashback. The moment he touches her, I don't know if he kissed her hand or not, but I think the moment he touches her, he gets a flashback to one of his dad's memories. And it takes place inside the Rice cave in the church, where Frida and the others obviously, and the other Rice family obviously got murdered by Aaron's dad. And it's weird what happens here, because I don't know if this happens after the wall got crushed or before, because it sounds like this is before the wall got taken down. So that's a very interesting time perspective to put it in, because you've got Grisha coming there and saying, you know, please, you know, he's telling the queen, please use your powers to save my wife and my children and everyone inside the wall before the Titans come by the walls. So it almost looks like that maybe this takes place, it obviously seems like it takes place just before the wall got crushed by the Colossal Titan. In which case, how did Grisha know they were going to attack the wall? Because if this is before the wall got destroyed, then that means Grisha knew the wall was going to be attacked. So how did he know the wall was going to be attacked? And what happened that stopped Frida and Rice and them not from even attempting to save the wall? What happened there? There's obviously a lot more that's going on in the scene that we still don't know what's happening. So I imagine we're going to get more flashbacks related to that later on down the line. But it's a very interesting thing to see. It's an interesting perspective to see, and an interesting idea to, you know, get out of in terms of the timing. Where does this fall in the timeline? So yeah, that segment ends, and then we get the time skip. So it's been a year since the Trost battle, since the year since they've taken Trost back. So 1 year has kind of passed. Yeah, I think, has it been 1 year, or is it? No, I'm sorry. It's been a year since Trost got destroyed by the Colossus, you know, when he kicked the walls in and then they went back. So obviously, it's probably just a few months after the events of the last arc. But overall, it's been a year, so it's kind of like the 1 year anniversary. And in that time, they've wiped out all the Titans inside the Trost area, inside, you know, the ones that got through into the wall by using that contraption. And they've killed all the Titans in that area, in that country, in that wall, etc., etc. Pretty much in the entire island, really, because yeah, the majority of the Titans are pretty much dead at this point, which means that these guys are now free. The Idolians, I believe, or the Marlenes, I keep forgetting. Idolians, I believe, or the Marlenes. Yeah, Idolians? Idolians, isn't it? The Idolians, yeah, they're free now. They're free. And we cut to, you know, Aaron and his group, and all, pretty much the main characters riding out of the walls and towards the area where the enemies pretty much inject their countrymen and turn them into Titans and throw them down onto this beach area. And we get there, and we finally arrive at the ocean. And yeah, Armin and Aaron's promise is now officially fulfilled. And we get to the ocean, we see it, and all the characters. It's a very short moment. I wish this would have been its own chapter. I can only imagine that we may get an OVA of this of this in an anime form, and it's just going to be a piss take, like a parody filler episode of them on the beach just having fun. I can see that happening so badly. And I'm hoping that next month we'll just get an extension of this with the characters just having some sort of fun, because it's just nice to see the happiness and the growth. And you can actually see the growth as well, because Aaron, Armin and Mika said they look slightly different. Aaron's definitely has longer hair, And they're just walking about, examining the ocean, walking about, and Eren even turns to Armin, telling him, you were right. I believe Armin is the one who's saying it. He's saying, I was right, that book was right, everything we said, that was true, here it is, salt water, the ocean, boom! And Eren, of course, he's enjoying himself as well at the same time, but at the same time, he's also, telling them that their enemy is also on the other side, and until they defeat them, they cannot truly be free. So now comes the big question. How is this all gonna go down, right? Are we getting set up for the final arc now, or is there gonna be more? Because as you all guys remember, the assumption is that Attack on Titan is going to end with 27 volumes, for us 110 chapters. So at this point, with the assumption that that is the case, we have 20 chapters to go. Are we getting ready? Are we getting set up for the final arc? Yes or no? And how is it going to go down? That's the important thing. And I believe I have a theory regarding that, and it's going to involve the whole Eren having to, eat someone of royalty in order to get the core and the powers activated so that it can be useful to them. So yeah, hear me out here. Isayama has said that by the end of the story, Armin and Eren are not going to be close friends. They're not going to be enemies, but they're not going to be close friends either. So there's definitely going to be a rift that's going to be formed. And I assume that rift is going to involve Historia, because Eren makes it very clear. He cannot tell them about what's going on, about his ability of touching Historia and being able to see flashbacks and shit. He cannot tell them that in the risk that they might force him to eat Historia in order to, for the greater good and shit. He's not going to do that. It does seem that Armin has realized this and he knows this. So obviously some sort of rift is going to be formed there because, again, Armin is always for the greater good. He is the kind of guy who does take things to the extreme. You may come across as a nice guy, and he is a nice guy, but in the end of the day, his attitude towards certain things are always like the ends justify the means. So I can see him kind of pulling this kind of stunt where he's going to be like, we're going to have to eat her. You're going to have to eat her, there's no other way about it. However, that's not necessarily the case. Eren doesn't need to eat Historia. In fact, he could technically eat Zeke, because Zeke, his half-brother, is of royal descent, so surely he's got the coordinate powers as well. So what am I getting at here? Well, hear me out, guys. Right now, their enemy is on the other side, yeah? Or on a country somewhere. They don't know how to get there. Annie, on the other hand, probably does. So it only makes sense that we finally get Annie released from the crystal, and hopefully she will end up deciding to join their group, because for all intents and purposes, Annie was never a bad person to begin with. Bertrand, on the other hand, was a psychopath and a dipshit, and yeah, he was definitely the bad part. Reina is sort of mixed. He always had this personality between soldier and warrior. He was definitely the two-sided guy. You didn't know what direction he was going to walk in, and I do see him sort of redeem himself by the end of this story. Sorry about that. But yeah, I can see them getting Annie out and her probably helping them get to where they need to go. And the reason they would have to go there is probably maybe because Eren is probably going to come up with a plan, and he's going to suggest that they sneak in there and get Zeke. Because at this point, Eren has to have come to the conclusion that the Beast Titan is his half-brother. If he hasn't, then I can't see this plan working out. But if he has realized this, then it makes sense for him to suggest this plan of them having to sneak in. And Levi, since he made that promise, would definitely be on Eren's side in terms of going there and kicking the Beast Titan's ass. And as well, Historia would probably even give them the go-ahead if it means that they could try and get in there and rescue Ymir. Now, we don't know if Ymir is dead or not. She did say that she might be executed or worse. We have no idea what's going to happen to her. But likelihood is that to kill two birds with one stone, they're probably going to agree to this plan. Sneak in, get Zeke, get Ymir, and see what the hell happens. But obviously this is going to have some sort of fallout, I imagine. I mean, because if this is going to be the final arc, it's going to have to be an all-out war. And you also have to take into account the number of Titan shifters we're going to have in this war. Because at this moment, we still don't have an idea who the other Titan shifters are. We know there's 9, right? We got the Armored, we got the Colossus, we got the female, we got the dancing, we got the Beast Titan, right? And we don't know whether Zeke has another ability, because we never did find out how he infected Connie's village. Did he use another ability? Did he sneak in as a human and eject everyone? We don't know how that happened. So surely there must be another ability there that causes people to turn into Titans. That, unless he's Beast Titan form, is that ability. In which case, maybe he has two. The same way that Eren has two Titan abilities as well. That of the attacking Titan and that of the progenitor Titan, the one that allows him to control the other Titans. So that's two abilities he's got in himself. So that's about 7 Titan abilities that we know of, yeah? Or maybe 6, again, if Zeke doesn't have the other one. So what does that leave then? 3 other Titans that we have yet to see? Or is it 2 more? Is it 1 more? I don't know. I'm losing kind of count here, by the way, if you will. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing because it means that we have at least 3 or 2 or 1 more Titan Shifter to get introduced to. And I imagine we're going to see that Titan Shifter by the end of the series or in the final battle. And I don't know if I've said this before, but we still don't have a main villain. We still don't have a mastermind for this entire story. And usually in stories like this, there's always someone that's pulling the strings from behind the shadows, and we still don't have that type of puppet master character. And I can't help but feel that maybe it's someone that we've been introduced to before, and they're the ones who are doing all of this, or do they have some sort of role in this? Because I have to say, surely there's someone like that in the story, but we haven't seen them yet. But I do feel like there's going to be a big bad that's going to be revealed soon, and they're going to have some sort of role to play in this. But we'll have to wait and see how this all goes down. Another important thing to point out is that it's been now a few months now since that battle, right? It's been a year overall since Trost got attacked. What's happened since then? Since Reyna and Bertold and Annie went through this plan. What's happened since that year? I mean, imagine if these guys decide to invade that country, right, and they go there and it ends up being a lot more screwed up than they realised. What if there's been sort of coup d'etat? What if there's been a rebellion? We don't know, right? And that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff we assume is probably going to happen, but then it's going to end up backfiring and being totally turned on its head. I mean, what I'm trying to suggest here is, what if Yami is not dead and she's actually taken over and now she's like maybe the bad guy or whatever? Or what if Zeke went back empty-handed and some shit went down and he ends up like, because we still don't know his allegiance, we still don't know the reasons for why he did what he did. Obviously his dad pushed him too hard in the direction that he wanted him to go into, and he didn't do that with Eren because he realized that mistake the first time. So, but still, there has to be another reason for this. I mean, what is it? What's going on? I feel like there's something here we haven't quite gotten the bigger picture of, if you will. But I'm very curious to see what that is. At the moment, I'm more curious about Attack on Titan Season 2 and where that's going to end. I mean, it's finally been confirmed that we're getting that for an April 1st release. And it hasn't been confirmed whether or not we're going to get the Uprising arc adapted. No, they keep releasing posters for what is obviously the Clash of the Titans arc, but not the Uprising arc. And I'm starting to get a bit worried here, and I'm also getting a bit worried on whether or not this is going to be adapted perfectly, and whether or not we're going to get a season 3 as well. So yeah, there's that kind of worry as well. But yeah, overall, this month's Attack on Titan chapter, it wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot happening. It's nice to see what the characters are now. It's nice to see what's being set up. And it's nice to see where it could potentially go, but I'm hoping that we get a push on towards the action now, because yeah, we've spent too much time learning about the history of things, and there's obviously still a lot more that we need to learn, especially with that whole thing that regarding what's his name, Eren Kruger. I mean, what the hell was that about? Does he have some sort of future ability? Is there a Titan that can see the future? What's going on here? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to find out, and hopefully we get an answer to these questions very, very, very soon, like we have been these past few months. I mean, it's amazing that we even got Yamir's backstory. I mean, I didn't expect that in a million years for it to be like that, but there you go. Isayama managed to pull that out and give it to us like that. So yeah, we're interested to see where everything goes on from here on out. Anyway, guys, that's my review for Attack on Titan Chapter 19. Apologize for the lack of other reviews and shit. And yeah, as always, wow, I'm getting tired talking about this. As always, guys, like and subscribe or whatever, and I shall see you when I shall see you. Take care and bye.